So this is kind of where we left off. We also we want to kind of pull out the ends. We want to add sort of the folding bunching above the elbow, and we want to add some kind of general wrinkling. So let's go ahead and tackle this bottom part for now. So let's go ahead and come down, and we can see where that actual split starts if we go into the front view. And so we can come down here. If we want to go ahead and just drag this down, we can. And then we can come in here and insert another edge loop in here. Okay. And now we can go ahead and let's grab this edge. And we're starting to break symmetry now, so we can come down here, move it off to the side. Let's go ahead and do the same thing over here. Go ahead and extrude that down. And move it off to the side. We can go ahead and in the back, grab these 2 points. And we don't want the split in the back, so we'll go ahead and merge those points together. So now we just got the split up here. And then we can go ahead and start to tweak the shape of it. Alright, so we can come in here and you can see it sort of tapers up. Same thing here. So we'll just kind of roughly put that in position here. Okay, now we want the split to be pretty sharp, so let's go ahead and add some edge loops in here. And you can see doing that makes that split much sharper. Otherwise it's going to try to smooth that out. So now we can go ahead and grab that and kind of pull it down a little bit back to where it was. And that gives us our sort of split here. We can come in and clean this up, so you can see the lines we have here are pretty close together, so we can come in and just sort of move these up. And we can be very sort of loose with these because it is a shirt. Okay, we can sort of create our bunching by coming in here on the back and kind of bringing this geometry up a little bit. It's kind of bunched up in the back. We want to try to maintain our volume so that when you got this bunching, you know that it's not going to lose volume, so you're going to have areas that are kind of poofed out a little bit more because of that. We can go ahead and match our line here in the front of our shirt. Okay, so we can start to get something like that. Now I want to create also the seam where the buttons are going to be. And so I need to create the geometry for that. So let's go ahead and we'll insert an edge loop in here. Okay. Let's actually do the same thing on the other side, so the sharpness of the collar is going to be the same. And then I'm going to go ahead and select those polygons going up to the top. And we don't have to continue all the way up. We'll just stop right here. Let's go ahead and extrude those out, and let me undo that. I want to make sure that I don't have any of those polygons selected on the back there. I don't want those selected. So we want to create a raised area here, so we'll just extrude it and just pull it out a little bit. Okay, so that when we smooth everything, you can see that raised area. Now we are going to have a tie up here, so we don't necessarily have to have it go all the way, but I do want to have that polygon up at the top. So let's try that again. Go ahead and extrude that out. Don't have to go too far. And you can create that sort of raised area. Now you've got this softness on the end. To fix that, you can just use your insert edge loop tool. That'll tighten it right up. Okay. Now if you want to add thickness down here, we can do the same thing we did before, and that is to take this edge, go ahead and extrude it, and we'll just extrude it in. Or you can come in and change the axis and use scale instead. G to repeat that, and then you can come in and we change our axis here and either move it in or up to add a little bit of thickness to it. Alright. Now for the cuffs are going to be pretty straightforward. So what we can do is go ahead and put a line where we want that end of that cuff to be. So we'll use our Insert Edge Loop tool to do that. Drop it in, and then we'll simply select those faces. Okay, select those, and just extrude them out. So kind of pull those out. Now we're not getting very much sharpness here, and the reason for that is we don't have enough edges. So again, when we're smoothing, to make something sharper, you're going to add more edges where you want that sharpness to be. So we can come in here, and then we can start to manipulate this. And if you want to make it more detailed, you can. I'm going to kind of simplify it a little bit, and I want to sharpen up the ends of it just a little, so I can kind of do something like that. And if you want to go in and add a little bit more detail, you can. Now because we just did it on the one side, you'd want to cut apart your mesh and duplicate it over to the other side. And you could do that just with the arms if you wanted to, because we've already added some asymmetrical detail. We'll actually look at that in a second. Let's actually go through that process. I want to add a little bit of a wrinkle underneath here, and so to do that, I want to add resolution, but I don't want to add it across the whole surface, okay, in these areas. And so I'm going to go ahead and let's actually shift right click, go to split polygon tool, and we can come in here and for instance start right here and kind of come in under here and then cut it off kind of right up in there, and then we can kind of come in and in the center of this create our little wrinkle. So then we'll select these points, move them out like this, and that'll give you kind of a wrinkled look. Okay, and you could do the same thing out here if you wanted to. I think for the most part we're going to just go ahead and modify the lines that we have to get a little bit of that wrinkled effect. If you want a sharper wrinkle, you're going to add another edge loop. So coming in there, and then you can take this front part out. That extra edge loop will help hold that shape so that we get a little bit more of those that wrinkled look. Okay, now to duplicate that arm, as I said, let's go ahead and actually add a little bit more resolution here first. Get all the work done that we want to on this side before we actually duplicate this over. So I'm going to go ahead and just tweak this a little bit. If you wanted to add kind of some wrinkles in there, probably want to add another edge loop to be able to do that. Alright, let's add another edge loop in here to just give us a little bit more sharpness on some of the folding here. You can kind of rotate it around, get something like that. Okay, so what we can do now is go ahead and let's eliminate these faces, just where this connection is. Okay, and actually we want to include the wrinkle as well. So let's go ahead and include that wrinkle in there. And we'll go all the way so that the wrinkle is actually encompassed within our selection. And let's go ahead and select all the polygons on the arm as well. Basically everything we want to move over to the other side. Okay, and let's go ahead and duplicate this. So I'm going to duplicate it. I'm not going to move it anywhere. Okay, it's sitting right here. I'm going to hit Shift P to drop it out of the hierarchy, which exists in our outliner, which we'll talk about later, how to actually set this up. You can check that out if you want to, but this just shows us our polygon surface here. And so what we want to do is now go ahead and delete the history. Now if I look at the pivot, it's actually on the center line, so I'm going to go ahead and if I scale this negatively in the X, it's going to flip it over that axis and put it in the correct position. Let's go ahead and freeze the transformations. That's going to reverse the normals. So let's go ahead, reverse those normals, and we'll go into our attribute editor. And let's go into our render stats, turn off double-sided, and turn off this opposite setting here. because we froze the transforms. Now what we can do is go ahead and delete basically everything that we want to replace over on this side. Okay, this is more complicated than just replacing or just mirroring over, but not too much. So now we've got this piece and this piece. We can go ahead now and combine those, and then all we have to do is come in and merge those vertices together. So we can take this one. If you want to snap it into that same location, again, we can use our merge vertex tool to do that. And you just want to go ahead and merge those vertices all the way around the connection area. So down here, all the way over here, coming up in here. Go ahead and merge those together. Now anytime that you smooth your model, you're going to be able to tell where you've got areas that are merged and where you've got issues. So you see this right here? This is telling us that those points, there's something wrong with those. So if you're ever in doubt, you can go ahead and check that by just hitting 3 to smooth it out, and that'll give you a good indication of if you've got some issues somewhere. Then you can grab it and say, oh yeah, that's not connected at all. So we can go ahead and merge that. Just make sure we got everything merged together. Again, smooth it out. You can see we've still got an issue up here. Okay, that point's not merged. So let's go ahead and merge that one. And with that merged, now we were able to take those modifications and changes over to the other side. Okay, now I would probably go in and I want to come in here and make some more wrinkles in the shirt, kind of make it look a little bit more realistic and organic. I think that's pretty good. All right, so now that we've got the shirt built, let's go ahead in the next lesson and start to build the legs. So we'll start with the pelvis and kind of work our way down to the legs and finally down to the shoes. So we'll go ahead and do that next.